Oh, hello. No. Cool. Thanks so much, guys, for the great intro. Welcome, everybody. I'm super excited to kick this off here. Yeah, my name is Andy. I'm, as I already said, co-founder of Black Forest Labs. We've been around this image and more broader media space for a couple of years now. And I want to talk about today about image models, about their past. And I'm going really, really long back, I would say. Then about the present, and also I'll give you a glimpse about the future. Yeah, my co-founders and me, we've, as I already said, been in this space for a very long time. And I think our journey has been in many parts overlapping with the rise of especially generative text-to-image models. And more recently also editing models. That's what I want to talk about. So let's start with the foundations of this technology. I think if you put it a bit philosophically, we can say these models are building structure from chaos, which sounds very cool, right? And let's start with this guy here. This is just a chaotic arrangement of pixels, random noise. And this or similar forms of randomness or chaos is basically what all generative media models start with across domains, audio, video, images. In this case, it's an image. And now the task of generative media modeling is to create the type of media they're working on from this noise. Or put differently again, they build structure from this chaos, right? That's why I want to start with. Various algorithms for the image space, where I'm focusing today, have been proposed in the last 30 years. And I think the first somewhat useful images looked, to our eyes today, not pretty nice. We are known or used to other output now, but actually a bit more than 10 years ago, this was what a state-of-the-art result looked like. So from today's perspective, definitely a bit underwhelming. Nonetheless, I think 2014, the work of Ian Goodfellow, published as Generative Adversarial Nets, or GANs, it can, at least be in my opinion, we can discuss about this, it can be called the birth of generative media or image synthesis. After the GAN paper or GAN paper, various works tried to improve the quality of the images. Some were following the same algorithm, the GAN algorithm. Others were proposing different stuff. And however, it took quite some years until people finally got somewhat photorealistic outputs, like this one, for very aligned data sets, like portrait data sets, right? And sparked by increasing compute, that was around, I think, 2016, 17, 18, people also managed to get to higher resolutions, which was always like a bit of a bottleneck before. So the performance grew slowly but steadily. And one of the algorithms that has been proposed back then was an algorithm called diffusion models. I think today that rings a bell for a lot of people. And I like diffusion models, or my co-founders and me liked diffusion models particularly because here you can actually really see how they are creating structure from chaos. What they do is they apply a fixed forward process where they transform an image into a noise in a determined way, not deterministic, but it's a fixed way. And the model then learns to reverse this process. And by that, it creates piece by piece structure from chaos. So when my co-founders and me saw this diffusion model algorithm, we were super amazed by it, and we didn't lose time to combine it with another body of work that we worked on back then, which was called latent generative modeling. There you take the generative task away from the pixel space for images and move it to the latent space of a pre-trained autoencoder. And that saves just vast amount of compute, makes the training faster, and just makes a ton of sense. Today, this is pretty much the standard of everything that's creating generative media, again, across domains, audio, video, images. And I think what we also proposed here, what's super important and today completely clear for a lot of people is that we created the first text-to-image diffusion model. So conditioned it other than what was done before, was mainly class labels or even unconditional models, we conditioned it on text, which gave people control over what they created. Because we all, I think, agree that text for images is, for people is one of the most natural way to interact with like anything, right? It's a very natural way. So that's what we also did. And this additional means to control actually allowed people then to create much wider variety of outputs. So we could transit from narrow data sets to more artsy style like this, which I think today still looks a bit like not great, but this was how it looked back in the days. And based on this latent generative modeling algorithm, we could also increase the resolution. And then we just got many more concepts into the model and they were just more expressive and more expressive. And finally, we scaled them and also increased the computer and the data we put into them, and that led to Stable Diffusion. I think that also tells a lot of people something. This first scale latent diffusion model was available open source, and when we released this, we were so surprised by what people did with it. It was really an outbreak of creativity. We were just, back in the days, we were PhD students at a university, and we would have never thought what people could come up with. It just enabled completely new ways for people to express themselves. And we like that a lot. I'll just list some of my favorite projects back from them. Also visualizing the power of open source, by the way. This was a super fun thing. All very old stuff, but like changing your children's drawing into an artwork, super nice. Stuff like that, it was applied already to video, although being an image model for these cool video-to-video applications. And it was even integrated in very popular tools like as a plugin, like Photoshop or GIMP. And I think I'm not overclaiming when I'm saying Stable Diffusion was really the, I think, defining moment for text-to-image generation. And since then, the field has arguably come a super, super long way. Burkhard and Gorkheim just talked about it. It's amazing what people are creating today with these models. However, that was true for text-to-image, and until very recently, until this year, it was not true for image editing, which is an additional means to control the output. So before this year, I think people always had to decide between two poles, generalization, which everyone wants. We want to have very general models, and control. What was mainly done before this year was people taking a pre-trained text-to-image model and then doing a fine-tune, which was tailoring the model to a specific task, but at the same time they lost generalization abilities, and that's obviously not a great thing. So there was always this kind of decision people had to make, and we changed this earlier this year with Flux Context. It was the first joint image editing and text-to-image generation diffusion model. And by that, I think we established these models as tools to be controllable, composable, and really help people fulfill their creative potential. So let's look at Flux Context, what it does. It's a combined, or as I already said, a combined text-to-image and image editing model. And it can just do things like character consistency, style transfer, local editing, everything that at near real-time speeds, at single-second speeds. And yeah, we can do cool things like the things we see here. We can remove this object from the face of this person, then transform it into a completely new setting without changing the character ID. This is super important for many, many applications. And then we can do more fun stuff like changing the scenery, for instance, right? We can do more things, style transfer, can map the style of one image, extract it to a new content. And we can also do fun text editing, as here, as shown in the right example here, while keeping the font consistent. The nice thing about Context is that it's not only a very general model that combines a lot of very important tasks, it's also very strong at solving important business issues. So here, for instance, we can extract the skirt from the person and get in a couple of seconds a product shot for e-commerce. Or in the right example, we get from a sketch to a super nice render also it's just a matter of seconds now, right? So as I already mentioned, it combines two tasks. Let's look at very shortly at what this means in terms of the pipeline. For text to image, the classic pipeline is basically I input a text, we all know it, we get out an image that should hopefully follow this text. However, for image editing, we have at different inputs. We have this image as an input, and then we have an instruction text prompt that just defines a change I want to apply to this image. So that's quite a different task. What we get out is then hopefully the change applied as prompted by myself. And again, combining this just got rid of all this kind of fine-tuning that I mentioned earlier, and just led to so much more scalable results in terms of editing while still being very general. And yeah, things that in tools like Photoshop have taken hours, days, or even were not possible at all are now becoming real within seconds. And speaking about Photoshop, we're actually getting integrated into it, and we're celebrating this next week in LA. That's also part of what I'm here, why I'm here in SF at Adobe Max. So this is super nice. Oh no, we don't have sound. We need the sound. With sound, it would be cooler, but anyway. Oh, now we get some sound. Okay, cool. No, this is super nice. We're super excited about this integration. And we'll celebrate this next week. Another thing that's super important is the composability of these models. Here we can, for instance, combine them with video generation models. So we can generate a storyboard with Flux Context with this, our famous seagull with a VR goggle. That's our famous character, our most favorable character here at BFL. And we can just create a storyboard and then animate with a video model and get this fun thing here. Hello, hello. Also super nice, and just emphasizing this importance of character consistency also for video generation. You can test it out at BFL AI /play, our playground. Highly encouraged, it's super nice. Okay, cool, that much to the present of image generation and now editing. And we saw the effect that editing had also in the plot Burkai and Gorkem showed earlier, right? Cool, now let's come to the future a bit. And I think specifically for image generation and editing, for all these image tasks, it's a central thing that we will see is that these models will keep continuing to bridge the gap between what's generated and what's real. We still, well, let me actually show you this by means of an example. So if you look at this image, I want to do a quick voting party here. Who's thinking that this is a real image and who's thinking that this is a generated image? Who's voting for real? Interesting. Who's voting for generated? Okay, that's a clear vote. Why? Someone who's voted for generated, why do you think it's generated? Just shout out if you... Perfect. And actually, it's only part of a larger image that doesn't look that generated anymore, but always, whenever I look at images, I look at small details, and I can always tell if it's, for current models, if it's generated or not, because the small details are just not right. And that's, I think, what's still a bug of all generative image models so far. So let's do the same task again for this image. Who thinks this is generated? Who thinks it's okay? Who thinks it's real? Okay, that looks quite different. A lot of people are not knowing what they should do, but it looks very different, right? So at least it caused confusion. So now I'm telling you this is also part of a larger image. We ask the same question again. Who thinks this is real? Who thinks it's generated? Okay, the real ones are actually a bit more. It's also still part of a larger image. But this is actually generated. So these details are extremely, I think, this was the initial part here. Getting these details right, this is, I think, where we will go, or where I know we will go. And this is actually amazing because like images like this is what professionals need. People who work professionally with this content. And we saw again in the intro of Burkai and Gorkem that there's a lot of professional use cases that these models will serve in the future, right? So I'm super excited about this, and I think there will be something coming that has this impossible level of detail. Another thing is very precise control. That's just one example of this. The left one is probably the most expensive way to create a pink piece of paper. You can ask a model to generate it. But actually this, in this case, hex color prompting just gives us additional means to control the output with a text prompt. We can define colors of different objects and render like real-world compositions that then follow this. So control is paramount, and I think we continuously advance what's possible in terms of control. And finally, also things like, which are super easy for us, like humans, like counting, have been very, very difficult for a lot of models historically. This will also get better and better and better. And also like true physical understanding will be just super, super important, I think. And also here, this 7 bridges picture, I love this picture because I think you don't even see all the bridges here. It's actually accurate. And if we zoom in here, the last 5 bridges are so small, factors into this detail that newer models will have again. So here we see them. I think this is just amazing, and yeah, really excited for what's to come. And finally, I asked BFL's next model what it thinks the future of generative image and media, or image in particular and media in general will be, and that's what it answered. We'll continue to make powerful, controllable, and composable tools to help people fulfill their creative potential, which means even more precise means to control, more photorealism, and also real time. So surprisingly, our model is in line with what I'm saying. General media, I think, will go towards multimodality. This will be a very, very important thing. And also state, which goes towards world modeling. I think this is a super exciting direction as well. And also combined with real time, I think we will see so many nice and super exciting applications. And with this nice slide here, I say thank you. I hope you enjoyed the ride through the history of generative image modeling, and looking forward to all the nice speakers that come after me. Thank you.